Alrighty, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome back. It is Sunday. It is slightly after 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, and we are here with another episode of the Designer's Den. And I am super excited today to welcome back Designer's Den, even though it's been a while. Actually, I think it's been almost a year exactly. I'd have to look it up. But Andrew Bishkinskyi, um, who has done a lot of stuff. As I mentioned in tweet earlier today, if you read that, you may know his name. Probably didn't know how to pronounce it. From having been a winner of the Wizards Dungeon Master Challenge earlier this year, or from some of his work with the Adventurers League content, um, or um, because he is a passionate Toronto Blue Jays fan. Probably not that last one. But anyways, I'm gonna let Andrew actually introduce himself a little bit better than that. So Andrew, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself, what you do for tabletop, and I don't know, relevant.
Sure. If anybody's here for my hot Blue Jays trade market takes, I think that might not happen in this chat. But I don't know if you ask in chat. I mean, we'll make it happen. We're here to entertain, right? Like we can turn this into a Blue Jays show.
Yeah, if you got Blue Jays hot takes, feel free to put them in the chat. I can Google stuff real quick so I can have an opinion. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Anyhow, my name is Andrew Bishkinskyi. I am a D&D and I guess TTRPG designer, all the abbreviations. I write mostly adventures, although I've branched out to a few other things, classes, subclasses. My most recent thing, which I have a prop because I'm really excited, I've been showing it to everybody, is the Rashomon campaign guide, which I'm in. This is the first actually printed thing that I am in, so I'm super excited about that. It's from Joe Rasso, who is another awesome creator. Have you had Joe?
Have I had Joe on the show?
I'm sorry to put you on the
I
spot.
feel like I have. But all of a sudden I'm questioning that. Did I?
And if
Also
not,
though,
we can make that happen.
yeah, if not, we can totally happen. But it's really shiny, so it picks up the reflection of your ring light. Excellent.
Oh, oh
Yeah.
yeah, there we go, there we go, there we go. Can I get the face in the middle? Oh,
Oh yeah.
okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So yes, it is really shiny, and it's called the Rashomon Campaign Guide. And I wrote a small bit of it. It was a huge team that Joe put together, but I'm really excited to have something I can actually hold in my hand that my name is in.
You were on last January, and I haven't had Joe on, so Joe.
Yeah.
Or
Do you
tweet.
want to talk about
tweet.
Rashomon?
Oh, Rashomon is great. It's a campaign guide, kind of like a setting book.
Yes.
For you know, people who aren't familiar with that part of the Forgotten Realms. It has a lot of great content, and there's a little bit of adventure prompts and stuff in there too, right?
Yeah, there's adventure props, there's some subclasses. It's a very cool book.
All right. All right.
It's
So
a,
we got a question from chat already. Congratulations on winning that competition. Did you receive it?
I did.
You don't have
I,
it handy.
I mean, I do. I'd have to get up from my chair. So uh,
It's gonna go get it. It's important.
I mean, she's not very far. I live in a 500 square foot, so it's um it's very difficult to ever be far from Tiamat. So by request.
All right, a little higher. Oh yeah, look at her. Yeah, she's
Uh,
gorgeous.
okay,
Uh,
he's gonna fly away now.
I don't, I don't, I don't think we have that. Alan, do we? Oh,
Have another room to put.
that's a no. I mean, it wasn't a we need it. Oh, so we apparently don't have it, but we have too many other dragons.
I, I, I
Um,
mean, I mean, if you weren't like, that far physically away, I'd totally offer you to like Tiamat sit now and then.
yeah. Oh well, we have a Tiamat, just not that. We have a lot of dragons, including 2 of the colossal red dragon with the flame.
Oh, that one is really, really cool. I saw
Yeah.
somebody posted a picture of them side by side, and I'm like, yes, both. That's it.
Yes. Having too many dragons is a problem I want to have. I'll have to get a picture of all of our dragons and stuff and put that up on Twitter so everyone can see what I mean. Our game room is still undergoing some renovations right now. Because we have a little more than, what was it, 500 or
Yeah.
square meters? I don't know,
No,
whatever.
no, square feet. Canada is weird that way because we are fully metric except for like,
Building,
trying to
except for
spread
building.
measurements. Yeah, real estate measurements. People are still like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
500 square meters would be a lot more space.
yes,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but we digress. Yeah. Um, so uh, Rashman was the not last thing you've worked on, no, but the last thing that came out in book form. Also, the
Yes.
first thing that came out in book
Yeah,
form.
the last, the first, and yes.
And but it will not be the last.
It will not. Well, I hope it will not. Well, because there's actually technically things I've already finished that will, make their way out eventually. One day.
You'll be able to get Den of Assassins eventually, right?
Yes. So Den of Assassins was the Kickstarter I was the lead designer on last year. It was kind of my project, which was kind of crazy.
I worked on that.
And you worked on that, and you made an amazing NPC slash. I don't want to say just villain because it's a villain slash vigilante slash possibly ally. So
yeah, no, I mean she could go either way. She could be convinced. Like that's the thing about her. I really enjoyed creating my NPC for that one because it had a lot of potential depending on like how your group her. And she also has a really cool henchman.
yes, yes.
If
Which we got which we got you some cool art for.
Yeah. So if you want to check that out, it is on DriveThruRPG. I will pull that up. What?
I don't think it's actually available yet.
Oh, is it not? I thought it was.
No, because we're waiting for approval for. Is it on there? I don't know. I don't actually know. We're waiting for final approval on print.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because we didn't want to put it up until people can order the print because we want people to order print copies.
All right. Well, there's the link to the Kickstarter where all the updates will be posted. So how's that? That'll do.
Yeah.
That
is excellent.
Yeah, you could see all the art and everything. Kickstarter's of course done. But I imagine you've got a lot of other stuff on right now.
Which is a question that's come up a few times in the past few months, and my answer has been, well, actually, no. And not so much. Well, there were kind of two reasons why the answer is no. And one reason is I kind of wanted a bit of a break, both for life reasons and other reasons, because it's been a busy year. You mentioned I did a Kickstarter. I also wrote adventures for two other Kickstarters, and I wrote an AL adventure which premiered at GamePro, and I wrote an adventure for Dread Metrol, and there was a lot of things in the beginning of the year.
Your project board sounded as full as mine, but it seems less full right now.
Yes. So
that would be nice. I keep looking at my project boards right up here.
Oh,
looking at it, I'm like,
I don't know. I have one like in digital form where I have like a little spreadsheet. And it used to be really full. There was that one year when I was working on like 16 adventures simultaneously or something, which was.
Was that when you were doing all of your doing a bunch?
Yeah, and pretty much every single month I went, this is nuts. I should not be doing this. But it actually turns out that I should have been, because then the CCC program ended. And it turns out if I hadn't done it then, I would have never finished it. So sometimes life just throws things at you and you got to do that. But in any case, so, and then there was like the couple of months of the DM challenge, which took up my brain for them. And then I had a bunch of day job work stuff. Because in addition to this, I also have a
full-time day job.
Yes.
This is not your day job.
Yes, which you, I'm sure know something about. So I kind of decided I'm just going to take a little break from projects, and I'm also going to take some time to evaluate projects. And that's when I started looking at, well, what do I want to do next? And that's kind of when you and I chatted and said, hey, we should do a show on picking out projects or deciding on what to do next.
Yeah, because if you don't think about it a lot, you end up project that
Yeah.
yeah. I'm so no, these are all gonna pay off.
You like how I digitally looked at your board even though I can't see it.
You actually even on the screen you looked in the correct direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are gonna pay off or I'm gonna be sad. But these are all great people, including, you know,
Mm-hmm. We'll
we'll
talk
talk
about
about that later.
yeah, because
But how do you decide, what projects are
okay.
where do you,
Well,
no, where do you
well,
start?
well, first of all, I've got multiple disclaimers because we live in the world of the internet where there's a million people, well, probably not a million people, but at least 5 or 6 people waiting to misinterpret everything you say negatively. So, first of all, if you're somebody who has multiple emails from, Wizards of the Coast in your mailbox saying, please work for us and here's all the money and here, please make a hardcover from us, this is not the kind of choice between projects I'm talking about. So like if you're one of the 3 people that Chris Perkins has in speed dial, I envy your life,
Congratulations.
and I'm sure your project selection is much simpler than mine.
Those people also full-time
Yeah,
creators.
possibly, yes. But anyhow, like if you have, more seriously, like if you have large publishers kind of knocking at your door, like I think that's very specific to, and hopefully everybody, who's watching this can get to that stage where they have large publishers knocking at the door. But the evaluation of those projects is going to be very specific, and usually it's going to start with yes, I'll do it, and then you evaluate the project. At least that's how it's gone for me.
I don't know, it generally starts with, what is the timeline?
Oh yeah, you ask that? Okay. That seems like an important thing to ask. I just go with yes, I'll do it. And then, I figure out how to make the timeline. I should probably ask what the timeline is. It's okay.
Yeah.
I,
But, say we're just a regular old small time, medium time freelancer out here trying to get by, taking, whatever projects our way, and then all of a sudden we got like 12 project offers at once from people that, I don't know, maybe we haven't worked with them a dozen times each.
yeah. That's harder, and that's so I'll talk about kind of myself, and this is where my second disclaimer comes in. I very much believe that nobody has the right to tell you what kind of work you should take or how much you should charge for your work. Like, I mean, you're welcome to seek advice from other people or how much you should earn in your work. So, I will mention some math, some dollars, and I will mention how I make my decisions. And my decisions are based on my life and what I get
Right.
out of it. Because with literally every project you ever do, money is going to be part of the compensation, and you're
Oh,
going to decide.
hopefully.
Yes, well, hopefully, yes, and you're going to need to decide for yourself
What the right.
how much is the other side worth to you. So
So, the TLDR on that disclaimer there was, this is Andrew's as it relates to Andrew's life. Please consider your own situation when your
yeah,
choices.
yeah, yeah,
Oh.
and
As we've discussed before, things are more elegantly said on the second take.
yeah, yeah, that was good. That was good. And yeah, so if you like the way I think through things, cool, use the way I think through things, but ultimately make your own decision. So so
All
I
right.
have a list of things that I could have kind of done, right? And this is exactly when my other laptop goes to screensaver. Anyhow, so, and there's several things on those lists, and we'll kind of go through it, and I'll kind of talk a little bit about it. So first is writing an Dungeon Craft adventure. I love Adventurers League. I started out in Adventurers League. I made my, kind of, a lot of people who know me initially knew me for my Adventurers League CCC adventures.
Mhm.
And then, that program ended, and now Dungeon Craft is a thing. And well, I could always do another Dungeon Craft. I did one last year, and I could do another one. So here's the kind of math. And the math is going to be kind of simple. I'm not going to put a spreadsheet on the thing, but so Dungeon Craft might sell 100 copies. I made one last year. It sold 80 copies. It's a tier 2 Dungeon Craft adventure. Eventually, it will crawl its way to 100. And 100 is an easy number to talk about. So it sells for $5. I get half of that. At 100, that's $250.
Hmm.
So there were sales and things. So I've actually made like 175 on it. So I got 175 bucks. So I use sales target of 100 when I evaluate how much I might make. So, and whatever you're doing, like if you're doing your own project, yeah, you're muted.
I know, carry on.
Oh,
Sorry.
So when I do my kind of budget, I use a sales target of 100, and you should always have a sales target. Like you might not hit it, and that's unfortunate, or you might do much better than that, but you should always have a sales target. You should have an idea of how much your thing is going to sell. So when I'm doing my math, I'm going to sell 100 copies of my new Dungeon Craft that I might do this year, and I'm going to raise the price on it, and I'm going to sell them for $7 instead of 5, because adventure prices have been going up on DM's Guild, and I think it's fair for a 4-hour adventure to be $7, and it's going to be decent. So that'll give me a profit of $350. Now, anybody who works for DM's Guild or on DM's Guild will tell you, number one advice is you should hire an editor. Ginny's worked as an editor or works as an editor. Like, should people hire an editor?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I hire yes. You can't edit your own work. If you think you can edit your own work, you're lying to yourself.
Yes. I lie to myself frequently on my early adventures, like 20, 30 times. Anyway, so I'm not saying to do that, but here's the math. So my profit is $350 on this fictional adventure. An editor works for 5 to 10%, maybe, if you're not paying them. So let's say 10%. So that's $70. That drops my profit to 280 now. Let's say I need a cover art or some interior art. So need to set an art budget. Let's say that's $75, which is way too low. If you want a cover drawn, it's at least like $150.
Yeah, if you want a custom, you can find some fantastic covers for stock art. So if you're on a tight budget, like if you would rather spend your hour scanning through all of the stock art, it that's an hour worth of your time, which you value at, I don't know, we'll say what minimum we valuing it at $15. That's $15 from your $50 art piece, so $5 versus 150.
Yeah. So I put in an art budget of 75, which I figure will cover probably stock art, maybe a nicer piece of stock art, maybe something else. So that my profit's now down to $200. So I've written Dungeon Craft. I've made $200. Woohoo!
Yeah, but how long? In this question got here, you sold 100 copies of your. How long did it take you to reach those copies? How long was it? Got $200, or just
My first adventure actually relatively quickly, because it's kind of an oddball, because it sold a bunch. But my DM's Guild's been getting more saturated.
Was that your first Dungeon Craft or first adventure?
My first CCC. My first Dungeon Craft, it's at 80. And it's been almost exactly a year. Let's say exactly a year. I think it published mid-November last year. So
Yeah, that sounds great.
yeah, so I figure by maybe the end of winter it'll be at 100. So yeah, it takes a year, but and that's one thing with DM's Guild. You got to consider that your stuff is going to keep selling. So even though you might sell only 50 copies in the first 3 months, you will eventually sell more. Like if you need immediate cash flow, it's probably not the best setup, but over time, and especially if you have a bunch of products, you'll always be getting a little bit residual every month.
That's what's known as the long tail.
Yes, that's known as the long tail. Anyhow, back to my math. So recapping the math, we're selling 100 copies at $7, $700. Half of that is $350 because DM Skill takes half. And we're spending $70 in an editor, which we should have, and $75 on art, which leaves us with 205 shiny dollars. I don't know how long it takes you, Jenny, to write a 4-hour adventure and publish it and market it. It takes me about 40 hours. I figured.
Oh, count it by hours? Oh gosh, I don't know that I've ever counted it by hours.
Yeah. So it takes me about 40 hours. So I've made $200 out of my 40 hours. For those of you doing the math at home, that is $5.18 an hour that I'm paying myself by writing a Dungeon Craft adventure.
Which is what is known as starvation wage.
Mm-hmm.
So fortunately, Andrew has.
Yes. Fortunately, I don't do this to support myself. And if I did, possibly I would not be choosing to do Dungeon Craft. Or I would be choosing to do a lot more of them. Or maybe I would be choosing to do them better. But like, I think other than the special ones that were released by DM's Guild this year, I think there's only a couple that have reached silver, which is 100 copies. So I think 100 copies is a fair estimate. Yes, so it looks like Zardek's got a Dungeon Craft as well. So yeah, so that's $5 an hour. And then that goes back to, well, remember how you said you should always pay an editor?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing. If I don't pay an editor, if I do self-edit my adventure, I can bring that hourly wage up from $5 to almost $7.
But will you sell as many copies?
And that's the question, right? So if you're doing something small and really independent, it may be worth. I mean, look, you're never going to go wrong with having an editor in terms of making your adventure better. But again, if you're making that little, it might not be worth it for your editor also, because I mean, you might be okay paying yourself $5 an hour. Your editor might not be so happy with that. So there are some considerations there, and please don't take this to mean as me saying you don't need an editor, because everybody does, and I do, and I would love to have one and everything. But first of all, a good editor costs good money, and you might not have it. And so this comes back to, well, why do it anyway? Well, doing a Dungeon Craft is partly community service. I don't want to use the term community service because that sounds like something they make you do in prison. But it's a service to the community that I'm part of, right? I love Adventurers League. I play a lot of Adventurers League. I go to conventions that run Adventurers League. So I want to have my own adventure that I can run and that others can run. I mean, Dungeon Masters create adventures for free for their players all the time. Mm-hmm. Because what they get out of it is running it and fun and enjoyment. So that's worth something. So it's not purely a profit calculation.
Not purely, no.
No. But it's something to think about. And so the point of the exercise is you should do the math and you should have a budget. And it could be as simple as, how many do I think I can sell reasonably? And don't lie to yourself about it. Be reasonable. How many can I sell? What am I going to sell them for? And how much am I going to spend for it? I can drop the, I said I can drop the editor. I can also drop the $75 art budget, and I could spend $5 on a cheapy cover, which doesn't have to look terrible, with some clever layout, or with even with free stock art. You can do so, like there's a lot of free stock art on DM Guild. You can do a really nice looking product on DM Guild, especially if you're not going to hit you're not looking to hit high numbers. You can do it with free stock art. So you can increase those numbers and you can kind of manage it. You can also, the other lever is, you can charge more for your adventure.
You can, but that runs into other issues potentially. Why are you charging more? What does your adventure have that makes it worth more? Will someone buy it at that higher price point? Like if you go from the the popular $4.99 to, I don't know, even $5.99. Why would someone buy that over all of the $4.99 products? You have to think, what are you offering that makes it worth more? What's the value prop?
Well, and you say that, but that's exactly it, right? Because a lot of conversation in this regard is, well, I spent 100 hours on it, therefore I will charge more. Well, nobody cares. That's going to sound horrible, but nobody cares how many hours you spend on it. The consumer sees the final product. And if your final product is the same who spent 20 hours on it, it does not matter to the consumer that you spent 100 hours on it. It matters to you. And the thing to remember is, just because you've priced it higher doesn't mean you will make more on it, because how much you make is a factor of how many copies you sell. So you might make more per copy, but if you only sell 5 copies, you might have as well priced it lower and sold more copies. So like there's a balance to the pricing decision. It's not just, well, I've spent a lot, so I should price it high.
That is true. And I am looking at some of the dungeon craft stuff that's gone up for Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and all of the spotlight ones have meddled at silver or better. The one exception being a listing, Fantasy Grounds listings. So that's not exactly the same thing. It's a separate listing. But not a single dungeon craft outside of those has meddled that I've found for Wild Beyond the Witchlight so far. And I've opened like 40 of them so far. So
Awesome. Well, it helps when you have a dedicated ribbon on the front page of the DM's Guild, and your however 8 or 9 adventures are the only thing on there for months, because for most dungeon crafts, you put yours up on DM's Guild, and with Dungeon Craft, we do have our own ribbon, but the ribbon matters less for Dungeon Craft because it's a AL audience. You have a limited audience, but your adventure will get scrolled off the front page, right?
quickly.
Yeah.
And you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
That, like, you cannot count on advertising from the DM's Guild. You also have to market it. And if you're not a marketer, maybe you need to add that into your budget.
Yes. And yeah, there's
which goes right into the question we've just gotten here.
Yeah, that's a really good
from
you want to read it?
Yeah, Thiel of King. Marketing is labor intensive and it's easy to be swamped by a huge pool of talent in the DM Guild. How do you ensure that you stand out, not just in terms of product quality, but whether it appeals to consumers? Woo.
Well, if we knew, maybe if I knew, maybe my Dungeon Craft would have sold more than 80 copies. So let's start with that. But so first of all, you have to, I think that there are table stakes today, right? Your adventure has to be, I'll say in very rough terms, decent looking, right? Like that doesn't mean you have to have spent $100 on your layout, on your cover, etc. It doesn't have to be custom at all. We talked a little bit about it last year when we did the Mod Market Marathon stream and actually showed a bunch of mods throughout. You can have very clean, very professional looking layout that just uses a little bit of stock art or maybe some of the stuff from the DM's Guild pack. So anyway,
And there's templates too to make it easy for you to make it, you know,
and
professional.
Because I'm a 100% customer of it, Laura Hersbruner's word template is amazing, and just like for $5, it makes your adventure look 100% professional, so long as you yourself don't mess it up, which is difficult to do with a template. It's a template that will actually teach you how to write your adventure. It is really, really good, and worth your time. There's also some really good templates for InDesign and Affinity, which I know absolutely nothing about because I don't know how to use those programs. So, but they do exist. So invest in a template. So going back to the question of how do you make your thing stand out, you have to try to build an audience. And it's a very short statement, but actually really, really difficult. Again, talking about myself, one of the challenges I find myself facing is I'm doing less Adventurers League stuff, and I don't have an audience outside of Adventurers League.
Right.
Because the people, for whatever reason, the people who buy things on DM's Guild, they either are Adventurers League people who buy Adventurers League things, or they're non-Adventurers League people who buy non-Adventurers League things, and never show the two meet. And I'm sure there is, some crossover. The one example being with all those Spotlight mods, they were marketed by DM's Guild not just to AL, but they were marketed as a tie-in to Wild Beyond the Witchlight. But that marketing was done by somebody else. It wasn't done by the people who wrote them. And I mean, the people who wrote them were chosen because of their appeal, potentially, to both AL and non-AL. But that marketing was done by somebody else. And you yourself would not, you can't write a Spotlight adventure and put it top of a guild and communicate it to all the people.
No. So they were chosen by the the DM's Guild team, and so I've linked for myself here. I've linked the Affinity, InDesign, and Word templates in question. And yes, they do have my affiliate ID that helps me go. So that.
Yeah.
But also like how do you get chosen by them? Who knows? But the DM's Guild does have other marketing stuff that you can get in. They have their weekly newsletter, and there are days of the week that you can publish on to help chances of being in the newsletter. I tell you, it's not the day the newsletter comes out. And it's
what days does the newsletter come out?
And the newsletter.
I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot.
You are putting me on the spot. But that's okay. I just gotta open my inbox and I can tell you this answer. Because I have it here somewhere. Let's see.
So I'm gonna keep talking about
yeah, you keep talking.
So going back to, if you're looking to expand your AL audience, that audience kind of is what it is. Sorry to say, and it's kind of evident from the fact that, like Jenny said, none of the 40 Wild Beyond the Witchlight DCs have medaled. First of all, we can talk about why that is. Maybe it's because there's 40 of them in 3 months. There's not really any, curation of it. Like, there's nobody saying, oh, here's the DC of the week, or, there is nobody to kind of guide people to yours or to help you make yours stand out. Yes, you put it up on the guild and you hope somebody buys it. There is not a lot of places to market it because the Adventurers League is now pretty much exclusively on Discord, and the audience there is not huge. A lot of people just have the stuff pushed to their own discords rather than come to the main discord to see where the ads are. So your ads are not, pushing to other places. And Twitter is kind of notorious even outside of AL for not having good conversion rates. Conversion rates meaning if you post an ad, how many people actually click on it and buy your thing.
Paying ads is so
put your stuff out on Tuesday, maybe, or Monday,
there you go.
Sunday.
Monday. Monday. That's the day. And now everybody's gonna publish on Monday, and they'll be over. But honestly, that is because they're looking for stuff on Monday. They start putting it together. They're proofing on Tuesday. They send it on Wednesday. My audio is cutting out, or his. Apologies. Either way. But there are things to do. Paying for ads on Twitter when you don't have. Yes, sometimes I get my microphone far away and it's a problem. Shove it in my face. It makes me think of a totally inappropriate story from that I went to. They had a really bad microphone, and if you weren't holding it like directly in your mouth, basically people couldn't hear you. So crowd was constantly yelling at them to hold it like you're
yeah. Yeah.
Anyways,
was there a mic drop at the end?
No, there was not. But if you don't have a dedicated audience, throwing it out into the abyss of Twitter ads, which don't really allow you to drill down beyond United States aged 18 to 47 or whatever numbers you pick. The amount of people in the United States aged 14 to 20, 47, who are into Dungeons and Dragons. The pie graph there, it's a small slice of pie. It is a growing slice of pie, but it is a small slice of pie. So you are literally just throwing, pins into the haystack, and you're like, please find it. Thank you.
Yeah. So in terms of Master of Dungeons who has joined us, hello, Master of Dungeons. It mentions that there are still social media outlets where you can reach the audience. You can, and again, I don't have the data for this, but Adventurers League people generally, like even before the switch to Discord, have been kind of notoriously difficult to reach which is evident by the fact that you go to an event and half the people don't have the most recent rules. So if even the rules are not getting to them, chances are that your ad for the adventure probably isn't either.
All right. Are we ready for my unsolicited advice here?
Go for it.
All right, unsolicited advice. Much like any industry, it is about networking and connections. The best way to advertise is to a dedicated audience. The best way to have a dedicated audience is through a newsletter. Does it have to be your newsletter? If you don't have an audience for your newsletter, no, it does not. The best way to get an audience for your newsletter, be in someone else's newsletter. Not just one someone, be in a lot of someone's.
That is absolutely the best advice. One thing that we've, so DM's Guild community at large, AL or not, it's been extremely difficult to kind of figure out for sure what sells and what doesn't. Like it's just like it's very hard to like project. Even like major DM's Guild products come out from established authors and flop and so forth, and some things come out and they're super successful, and it's very, very hard to tell why at times. The one thing that has been established without a doubt is that a solid newsletter, yours or somebody else's, to Jenny's point, absolutely 100% works. If you take nothing else away, that should be a takeaway. Newsletters definitely work. We know that.
And yeah, to the question in chat, in this age where people have low attention spans and are too lazy to read, if they have taken the time to actively subscribe to your newsletter and you're not rambling on about stuff they don't care about to the point where they unsubscribe because they're tired of seeing it, yes, it counts, especially by well formatted. I now have 60 subscribers to my newsletter, and I use it to um, advertise the stuff my friends are doing, the Kickstarters that I've backed, the people who've been on my show, and the projects they're working on. And so, that's right there. That's 60 people who care about this stuff who are looking at it. Are they all going to click it? Are they all going to buy it? No, but you at least know that you've reached the right audience who gives a shit.
Yeah, and 100% right. And I worked on a Kickstarter for the first time this year, the one where I was actually like involved in the backbones of the Kickstarter. Yes.
And Kickstarter, your mailing list from previous backers. That is the
Yes.
best way to get backers for your next campaign.
Yeah, so that's what I learned on that, is that we had whatever, at one point we had, I think, 500 backers for our thing. And we were promoting somebody else's project who, who had worked with us, and, we agreed we'd promote their project to our backers. And literally the day after we promoted, they got 100 backers for their project, because these are not, and I could have tweeted it out to my 600 followers, of whom exactly 0 would have backed it on Twitter, because the 500 people on Kickstarter are the people who A, are proven to buy stuff, and B, are specifically interested in the type of stuff you're sending them. I mean, not all of them, but some of them are, because they backed my project, and my friend's project is similar. So if they like what I'm selling, they probably like what he's selling.
Yeah, and those previous backers and getting that's another form of newsletter, honestly. Getting your friend who's currently doing a Kickstarter to send out an update about, hey, so and so who worked on our Kickstarter is doing their own project. If you liked their thing here, check it out. It's a newsletter, and like it does work. I'll give an instant example of a big gaming company. I've done work for Steamforged Games. They do Animal Adventures. They also do a shit ton of board games. But I worked on Animal Adventures. I mentioned that. But um, but they only run their Kickstarters for a week because they have such a large list of previous backers. The Kickstarter that they just released earlier this week for their something in academia. It's a set of miniatures, like awakened animals and other things for magic school students, which is totally not topical and relevant. And you get a little one-shot adventure as well, but you get your little adventures, including an owl and mini, which is totally not an owlin. It's just an owl.
Man, woman.
No, it's an awakened.
It's just an owl.
It's an awakened owl.
Okay.
But if you wanted to use it as an owlin, it's super fucking cute, right? But on day one, they had they funded in like minutes, first off. And they had, by the time I got to it, like 2 hours after it launched, 3,000 backers already. So, repeat customers.
Yes.
Mouth, captive audience. Like, yes.
So that brings me in a very long ride of chunky birds.
I know.
I can't not laugh at the expression chunky birds.
Adventures in Academia. I'm going to link the picture.
Yes, do it. Sell everything. So going back to my sort of list of
$87,000. Holy. Sorry.
But so now I don't want to go off topic on Kickstarters, because Kickstarters are cool.
Sorry, I said 20.
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress. Carry on.
Anywho, so my list of potential things I can work on next. So Dungeon Craft was one thing on there. Next thing was on there. I have ideas for no less than 5 different Eberron adventures. So
is there the audience? You have to think.
Right. So this kind of ties to our discussion about having an audience. I wrote an Eberron adventure. The first one I wrote is called March of Madness. It was written for the Cross Eberron storyline about 3 years ago. Not March Madness. It's not about basketball.
I know, but isn't it?
Isn't Eberron just? Never mind.
You mean the Great Minion March?
Yes.
That's different. That's a different campaign setting.
So that was my first foray into writing something non-AL. I had no audience, but I was writing for a storyline that was being written by people very prominent in the Eberron community. And A, they had an audience. B, there was this book, which was the official setting for 5th edition Eberron that was coming around the time that was released. And there was a bundle of the entire 10 adventure storyline that came out shortly after the adventure was released. And that drove a lot of sales.
Yeah. And that one is a you need to update your thumbnail because it is a gold seller.
Yes. So I had no audience for it, but I was working with people who had an audience. And second takeaway is be in bundles. Holy cow, I swear to God, out of the 500 sales that make up that gold, probably 400 came from the bundle.
Yeah.
And yes, again, you make less money, but you sell more. And the more you sell, the more people notice it, the more people want to buy it. So if you can be in bundles, and that's something you can do in Dungeon Craft, the wonderful folks in the Dungeon Craft Discord, and I say Dungeon Craft because I know there's at least some people in the chat who are Dungeon Craft folks.
Yeah. It can be, the Dungeon Craft Discord. It can be like your creator group, like the Philippines creator group that Paul Gabat is part of. They do bundles. The AL Nordic, they do bundles. Bundle selling power. Because what do you have when you have a bundle? You have every single creator in there who is now marketing your thing.
Yeah. I'll tell you. I'll give you another example. Last year around this time, I decided to do a tie-in to Rime of the Frost Maiden. So I wrote a subclass. It was my first subclass, and I think it might have been my first completely independent product of anything. It wasn't AL, it wasn't typed, like it was just completely just me independent. It was the Warlock of Winter patron. And I put it up for a measly $1 on the DM's Guild, and within 2 hours, it was off the front page as the things I want to go. And after, I think, 2 weeks, it has sold a grand total of 3 copies.
It's called what?
Warlock of Winter.
Stuff.
It's there somewhere.
I believe you.
In any case, so some folks were at the time doing a big bundle for Rime of the Frost Maiden support stuff, because when Rime of the Frost Maiden came out, there was just a slew of products, and they all got slid off the front page, and they all got missed, and none of them were selling. So they did this huge bundle, which was like $50 to buy, and everything in it was like 50% off. It was dirt cheap. And 1 year from launch, today, Warlock of Winter is actually a silver bestseller. It sold 100 copies. Only, I swear, they must be like literally all from the bundle. So like bundles are power, newsletters are power. Newsletters, you might not everybody might have access to that, because like Ginny said, it's about networking, it's about knowing people, but everybody can do a bundle. You can literally find one other person who's got a DC and bundle it together. I mean, you usually want a theme or something, but give people a reason to buy it. But you absolutely can do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's bundles, anthologies, collaborations, like all of that. It's bundling your marketing power. Is really what it is. Obviously, with anthologies and collaborations, you're also dividing your revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've got to think and do consideration on that. And, I've got a collaboration I worked on, and we were really passionate about it, and we've sold 29 copies.
Yeah, and it happens, and again, you have to be okay with it, but you also, when you do the collaborations, you open yourself to other projects with those people,
Mhm.
because people's, well, I'll give you an example. At the beginning of the show, I showed you this wonderful book, which I'm going to keep pushing, this Ration Man campaign guide. It's gone gold in 2 months. It's been great. The reason I'm in this is because the creator, Jorasso, his previous product,
Dunwood.
Dunwood, Demons in Danger, and I had an adventure in there. And
Demons, druids endangered.
I
Oh,
missed druid.
Yeah.
And I had an adventure in that product, and I was really excited about it because there was an adventure in there by Sean Merwin, and I'm like, oh, I'm in the same book as Sean Merwin, and I was really excited. And it really did not sell well for strange reasons, because like there was everything right with the book, except maybe people didn't know what Dunwood was. But like everything was right. Was it just one of those DM's Guild mysteries? Didn't sell well. And
I didn't like the cover art. It's too dark. You can't tell what it is.
and maybe that's it. What's a demon in Dunwood?
I
Maybe
know,
it's
but it's just like when you look at the thumbnail size, it's just black.
yeah, and that could be it. But here's the thing: the reason I got to write for this thing that went gold in 2 months and it has been super super well received is because I wrote for this other thing, which I'm never going to say it's a waste of my time, because I love the adventure I wrote for it, and I've actually run it, and I'm running it again for fairly soon. So and I got to work with cool people. It was great, but didn't make any money. But I have on this,
Yeah.
and I've made great relationships with Joe, and so that's kind of how it goes. You do some stuff, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't.
That one's got some really cool people on it too. You've got Ed Greenwood and Emmerich and VJ Harris and Steve Fiddler and a bunch of other extraordinarily talented people
Great.
worked on that. So, that's yeah, exactly. Was really excited when I had a couple of adventures come out with Ed Greenwood on them as well. So riding high for months. Yeah. First thing I worked on, I worked on a Kickstarter with Ed. Tales Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. For Alligator Alley, who does Esper Genesis, and I was just like over the moon. I'm like, oh, nothing with Ed Greenwood, everybody. And I didn't make very much money from that because it was a, flat rate contribution. Also, it was a very small contribution. I didn't have any time, but I was like, I'm contributing.
And that's fine, and that's sometimes the best way to get in touch. I had this is going to be, there is the meme going around about your flex of the year or whatever, which I don't feel like retweeting because I don't know the person who tweeted it, so I always feel
Well,
weird about this. So here's my live on air.
you don't know Gail. You don't know Gail Simone.
It wasn't from Gail Simone.
Oh, Gail. Okay, we'll find the one Gail posted and then do it.
Yeah.
She did it as well.
Yeah. So here's my flex. There was 1 week in sometime in March, I think, where I was working on 2 different projects. I was working on Rashomon Campaign Guide, and in the Discord, I was asking Ed Greenwood a question about the Forgotten Realms. And in another Discord, I was working on Dread Metrol, and I was asking Keith Baker a question about Eberron. And I was like, my life has now peaked. I'm talking to the creators of the 2 settings I'm working on, and just like that was my peak.
Yeah, but for real, like, both Ed and Keith are like so approachable and down to earth But like, if you've got a serious question about either one of those settings, tweet it at him. They'll be delighted to expound at length, especially Ed. He'll probably, if it's a really good question, he will probably actually give you a nice
Yeah.
Twitter thread.
Yeah.
Ed is not a concise man.
No, ma'am.
He has a lot of words. Yeah. All right. Well, we are nearing the end of our time. So Andrew, do you have any final like words of wisdom, or do you want to kind of like give a little TLDR summary maybe for people who join late? I've got a little bit of text on the screen, as you've noted. Some things to consider right next to your name: sales targets, price point, budget for editor, budget for art, the long tail on royalties, marketing.
Yeah. Yes. Think about those things, people. Those things are important. My message is that no matter how big or small your project, right, do a budget calculation. And again, if you decide that you're okay making $100 for profit for working 20 hours on it, that is fine. Because if whatever else you're getting out of it, maybe you get to work with Ed Greenwood on it, and maybe that's the high for the rest of your life, and maybe the $100 is the part of it that matters least. But you know that, and I don't know that. And if you need to feed your family with the money, you probably need another $100. So or 500,
or more. Yeah.
So that's kind of my main message: is have a budget, have a projection for how much you reasonably expect to sell. Work with people if you're trying to move off of or to create your own audience, and do things for that audience. Because in a roundabout way, coming back to what am I going to do next? And it's not going to be the Eberron adventure, which I could do because I now feel like I have a little bit of an audience there because I've done a couple of things.
What are you going to do next?
So after thinking about it long and hard, I decided on two things that I'm actively working on. So one of them, we are going to do another Kickstarter because our Den of Assassins did super, super well.
Yeah,
and you're going to be in it.
I am. I'll do a thing.
Because you were great last time. And
that's
it.
That's it. That's all I know so far. He's like, you want to do a project? And I said,
yes.
I said, what's the timeline?
And I told you I had an answer for you.
And then I said, yes.
Yes. So yes, we're going to do another Kickstarter because again, we think we've built an audience there, and I think we had a really good idea when a bunch of us got together at GameholeCon for what to do. So look for an announcement sometime in January about what it's going to be. And the other thing I decided to actually work on, because
show it again. Show it again.
I actually decided to write an adventure to go with the Rashomon book. It's not a starter adventure. It's a level 7 adventure. It's going to be called The Dragon Witch of Rashomon. And it's going to tie Rashomon a little bit with Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, because dragons and witches, and really, what else do you need in your thing? And it's going to be about a witch Laren's journey to sort of get to the next rank of being a witch, and there may be dragons. And I'm very busy writing it. I'm really hoping to actually have it out this year. So
that should be traveling band. The name of your traveling band inside of the adventure, instead of there might be giants, there may be dragons.
Yes, always. So yeah, so that's what I'm working on. And again, I did the math on it, and the math on the Kickstarter is really good, and the math on the Rashomon adventure is really average. And but I really want to do it.
And I know the math is boring, and I know doing the math is boring, but it is so helpful. And the spreadsheets will actually do the math for you. But yeah, so Andrew, Master Dungeons, who you probably actually know, just maybe not by his name there. Yeah. Just to hit him up on that. And I do want to thank you again so much for being on the show. This has been an excellent conversation. And if anybody has any additional questions, speak now, or forever hold your peace until you type it to him on Twitter. But anyways, Andrew, where can everyone find you online? Where can they find your stuff? Where can they, I don't know, play games with you if that's a thing? Or I don't know. I don't know.
Um,
What do you got going on? Where can they find you?
so you can find me on Twitter at Jays and Dragons. That's N as in the letter N,
Right
not
below
N.
your face.
Yes. Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. I can't see what's below my face.
No,
Oh,
I know. I'm telling you.
I could see it on that. That's great. You can find me there. My website is toweringtales.card.co, which has all my stuff and is really the easiest way to see everything that I've done, as well as to find my various appearances, of which there are like 4.
And that's linked on his Twitter.
Yes, that's linked on my Twitter. Yes, and my Twitter bio. So you can find me there. You can absolutely, if you have questions about anything we talked about here, or just anything at all about writing adventures. I love to talk about writing adventures and doing stuff on DM's Guild. And if you want advice or anything, you can message me on any social media platform that I'm present on, and I'd be
Puzzles.
happy to get back to you.
Puzzles and traps. Yeah. So this is the
Yes.
DM challenge champion. Yeah, if you want to talk to him about puzzles and traps and all of that, he's available for that as well. If you want to talk to him about the Toronto Blue Jays, he's also available for that.
Yes.
That's the other half of the name there.
Yeah. I don't think we're allowed to talk about baseball during the lockout. No, I don't.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything. All I know is that it's baseball. I'm doing great. Um, and as always, you can find me on all of the social media at Jenny Loveday, even on YouTube now. I'm so gosh darn excited. It's 18 months of me fighting and arguing with YouTube, but my YouTube channel is now .com/C/Jenny Loveday. Everyone has the /C now. But super exciting. You can always find everything on my website as well, jennyloveday.com. And that is the best place keep up to date on my guests and their links. And I definitely need to update that now. I've had a couple of guests who aren't on there, so we get that updated. And so we'll have an episode up next week. It is a pre-recorded episode where I talked with Alexander Stangroom about Strixhaven. He worked on the NPCs and the relationship system for that. Strixhaven releases Tuesday, and it's too far away for me to grasp right now, so I can't show it to you and wave it around again. But I am super excited for that. So you want to talk Strixhaven? Yeah, you can hit me up on Twitter. I got thoughts and opinions, and I'm gonna find the time to run a game, maybe play in a game, or maybe probably more likely the other way around. Play in a game, maybe run a game. And yeah, so I've got some more exciting guests coming up through December. If you want to be on the show, you can contact me if you're a creator of some sort. Even if it's just, hey, I did a dungeon draft. That makes you a creator. So like to get a number of opinions. But anyways, I rattle on for a while because it's been a hot minute. But yeah, can't. So that is it for this episode of the Designers Den. Thanks everyone. Until next time.
Bye.
Awkwardly.